We're about to talk about a lot of power, the collision of power. We're talking about Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali coming together. There's a new documentary on Netflix called Blood Brothers, Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali. And let me welcome the director, Mr. Marcus Clarke, with an E. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate you taking the time to talk about this film today.
Good to see you. And you came bearing gifts. One of my favorite people. She is amazing, dynamic in her own right. She is the daughter of Malcolm, Iyasah Shabazz. Welcome.
Thank you, Karen. Like I said, it's so good to see you looking beautiful as ever, beautiful, radiant. And of course, to have Marcus and me on as well is such an honor, because this gentleman here, this brother, he did such an amazing, incredible job with this film that we're going to see.
All right, so walk through, we've seen, and those of us who read, we've read, of course, the autobiography, we know that there's a special bond and a special relationship. We know that Muhammad Ali came into the nation and got introduced to the Nation of Islam through his relationship with Malcolm. We know that they had a special bond. We also know that there was a fissure at some point. So you seem very young. I'm just looking at you. I don't see any wrinkles.
Me?
Yes. What was it about this story that intrigued you?
I think that, I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. My parents were born in Jamaica. I'm of Jamaican descent. And so Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali were kind of integral parts of my upbringing, along with, of course, a lot of other Black leaders. But I didn't really know how close they were as friends. I knew about kind of their biographies separately and their contributions separately, but I didn't know how deep the relationship actually went. And so part of, a lot of this film was kind of discovery for me, to be honest. Searching through the archival material and all the publications, the different documentaries, to kind of find these breadcrumbs, if you will, of the relationship to kind of piece the whole story together. So I think it's really fascinating, and it begs the question, why we haven't heard more about this friendship and more about the influence of Malcolm X on brother Muhammad Ali. So that was one of the things that really kind of piqued my interest with this film.
There's an iconic picture of Malcolm and Muhammad and the three girls, and you, Ilyasah, are sitting in the lap of Muhammad Ali. That's you.
That's right.
You remember that day?
Absolutely not. I was a very, I'm 2
years old. You were two.
That's what I was too. And each one of us, is pretty tall, right? But I don't know if it's that I remember these moments, or if it's because my mother continued these conversations with her girls to make sure we knew our father and we knew, the important people that were in his life and our family's life as a result.
So what did your mom, the great Betty Shabazz, tell you about this relationship that your father had?
What I can say is that I was at an event with Muhammad Ali, and I looked up at him and I said, "Did you love my father?" And he said, "I absolutely loved your father." And he said, "Had it not been for Malcolm, my epitaph would have read, 'Here lies the greatest of all time.' But because of Malcolm, it means so much more," right? And I appreciated that. And this is something that Marcus and his team captures in this documentary, a story about two really beautiful human beings that were so fortunate and blessed to have crossed paths and to have made such an impact on our society at large.
So Marcus, take us to where the nuggets and the gems that are in this documentary, Blood Brothers, that most of us wouldn't know. Where'd you find?
Oh, well, there's so many. Firstly, a lot of people I don't think previously understood that Malcolm X was really a mentor to Cassius Clay at the time. And the influence that Malcolm X had on him, I think, is fairly profound. After you see this film and you see like these moments together, a lot of the film is, mining all these archival pieces and imagery where they're together. And if you look at these pieces, they're incredibly happy together. The brotherhood is on full display. There's a sense of admiration that you can see just from looking at some of these images. And, you know, in my own opinion, this looks like some of the happiest moments in their lives, you know? And so it's really important for us to not only see that, but to kind of track the trajectory of this relationship, how it changed history and how it changed these men's lives. You know, I think it's important to remember when Muhammad Ali won the heavyweight championship against Sonny Liston, nobody expected him to win that fight. He was the underdog. Nobody expected him to come out victorious, but Malcolm X believed in him. Malcolm X did believe that he had the capability and the opportunity to really elevate himself in this moment. This is at a time when the Nation of Islam didn't necessarily support sports or athletic competition. And so Malcolm was really ahead of the curve in terms of a visionary in seeing the potential that Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay at the time could have. And so I think that that relationship, you know, it's extremely profound. And I think when you see this film, you'll have a greater understanding of not only who Malcolm X was, but who Muhammad Ali was and how he got there.
We're talking, of course, with Marcus Clarke with an E at the end, Iyasah Shabazz.
Thank you.
Well, you know, we are seeing Malcolm X in so many motion pictures. One night in Miami, television shows like Godfather of Harlem, where we're seeing shades of your father show up through these theatrical spaces. This documentary, how is it different? And how does it land for folk, or how should it land for folk differently than what folk are experiencing right now with your dad through these you know, theatrical releases?
Gosh, I think it will have an impact, because we get to see two young men who were searching for their identity, right? We forget in the 1960s where we were psychologically, right? And Malcolm came along and gave us pride in who we were, you know, how God created us. And here was an opportunity to have this young man, this beautiful, compassionate man with such integrity, to go around the world and allow people, Black, white, red, yellow people, to see a Black person saying, I am the greatest, I am pretty, I can do anything, I can do everything. And you saw the beauty in their relationship. And you know, and this is something that's certainly different, you know, from a lot of documentaries that I've seen. And so I continue to take my hat off to Marcus, because it celebrates, you know, our identity. It gives individuals purpose. You know that your life means something, right? That you're not just here by an accident, but each of us has value and purpose. And it's exhibited through both Malcolm and Muhammad Ali's lives.